I was getting a little bit frustrated because there was this need and urge to help, but I felt like I can't even help effectively. I made 2 trips for food donation, and I don't know how by the time I made the second one, it had doubled. So I remember at that time I had a diary and I thought, let me see if I can find it. And I did. So I'll read you a bit of my diary entry. Welcome back to Between Us with Ashley and Chan. Last week, I introduced you to a nonprofit that is very close to me called St. John's Program for Real Change. Now, St. John's has been around since 1985, and in the past 40 years, they have served over 30,000 women and children. It's the only comprehensive nonprofit. There's very far and few in between here in our nation that offers a 12-month program for the women to get back on their feet. They take in the kids, or if the children cannot be with their moms, they work with the county and the local city to help reunite the children with their mothers. There's trauma informed care for these women. They have new housing on campus so that the women can stay there and feel safe so that they can, when they step out of campus, out of the 12-month program, really start to flourish and integrate into the society. And I happened to come across this lovely organization, gosh, 5 years ago. So let me give you a little bit of highlight. In 2020, as we all know, the world shut down. And I believe it was just the beginning of March, tail end of February, when we went into shutdown here in California. And at that time, we were still tiptoeing around going back within weeks, reopening within weeks. And it was in the third week that I realized this is going to be a little bit longer, and the effects of this is going to be far reaching and is going to undo a lot of the great work that people had done in terms of providing education, really getting education in some of the rural places all over the globe, and all the great work that we had done just in general towards moving forward. So I remember at that time I had a diary, and in preparation for this sit down, I thought, let me see if I can find it. And I did. So I'll read you a bit of my diary entry. This is from March 18th, 2020. And it says, I woke up feeling the need to do something. All this negativity and suffering around the world is taking a stress on my body. I decided today that today would be positive. And boy, did the universe show me the way. I go on to say that I like, to sometimes indulge in overpriced coffee. And during quarantine, I gave it up and decided that I would donate the money that I had spent on overpriced coffees to families who needed it most. So I pledged $60, and on a whim, I thought, let me go ahead and text a few of my friends to see if they will be able to chip in. One text message is all it took for people to start donating whatever little they could. And by the end of the day, I had collected $300. And I was so excited. And I write here, I've been crying all day because I am so happy. Because at that moment, on March 18, 2020, very few people knew that I had just been impacted by the market, meaning I was recently unemployed. And that evening, before I went to bed, at 11:38 p.m., I decided, oh my goodness, this is so a bit embarrassing to say this on camera. The balance in my checking account at that time was under $100. But in that moment, as I looked at the balance, I write here, I am so blessed and rich. Rich, you ask? Why, yes. I have a roof, my belly is full, and my heart is full of gratitude with this renowned faith, and I'm full of life again. We need faith and positivity to make a change. You can be broke, but that doesn't mean you can't help. Money doesn't have to be the deciding factor. And so when I collected the money, I looked at my mom and I said, this is not enough. And she said, let's start with that. I called a lot of shelters around my city of Sacramento, California. And a lot of shelters at the time weren't accepting food donations because of the risk of the virus. I understand. I was getting a little bit frustrated because there was this need and urge to help, but I felt like I can't even help effectively. And so my sister was the one who said, Ashleen, why don't you look into women and children shelter? And so I got online, and one of the first ones that popped up was St. John's Program for Real Change. I made a call to them and I said, I would like to donate some food. They said, whenever you're ready, we are here. We will willingly accept whatever you give us. So my friend and I went to Costco, loaded up, and we went to St. John's. And when I went through the big gates and around the corner to the kitchen, I was greeted with these women who had the most amazing smiles and just so full of heart and so much warmth. I saw children playing out in the playground. At that point, I didn't really fully understand the scope of what St. John's did. I was just there to do my bit. I said I collected $300. I made 2 trips for food donation. And I don't know how, by the time I made the second one, it had doubled. And this is, I think, to myself, just a testament of when you are ready and you're just doing it out of the kindness and gratitude of your heart, the universe rises up to meet you. I was lucky enough when the market and the sentiment started to stabilize and we got a little bit more clarity, I was able to get a great job. And my mom has always taught me one thing from as long as I can remember. That is, anytime you get an income from something new, so whether it be a new job, a new venture that I had taken on, your first paycheck, take a little bit aside, whatever you're comfortable with, and put it aside. And keep collecting that money so that you can in turn use it either for donation here locally, however you want to, but it needs to go back to the community, for lack of a better phrase. So when I got my next job, I think within that year or just the beginning of the following year, I was able to put aside a few $100s and I went back to St. John's. It was such a accomplishment for me to be able to be now in a place to do more than just food donations. And when I walked in through that door, that is when I really got to know the lay of the land and all the great work that a program like St. John's was doing and how imperative it is for our community. And lo and behold, almost 5 years later, just that one urge to be of help to the community has brought me full circle to sit down with the organization, the leaders, and an alumni to really highlight the work that they have done. I never once thought that, I would get an opportunity or even that this full circle moment would present itself to me. I don't know how else to put it, but universe's favor working, or universe's magic rather, working its way through us. So I share this to say, sometimes we think to ourselves, and I myself have been really guilty of this, thinking I need to have X, Y, and Z, or I can't help because I'm bootstrapped. Yes, those situations happen. I didn't have enough funds, but I had a faith. So when I led forth with that, people rised up to meet me and contribute. And so if you feel stuck or think that you cannot do more, it's okay. Start small. But if the calling is there, don't ignore it. And don't worry how the universe or how it's going to work out. So that's why I wanted to take a few moments and share this story and my affiliation with the organization, and also to encourage anybody. Sometimes we want to make a resounding impact, and I do too, but change, it always starts small. Start local, think global. That would be my advice. Till next time.